Armor stats are crucial in the creation of character builds inside of Destiny 2. Not only do you need high stats, but you need those high stats to have a good spread. That's why in this video, I'll go over what a good armor piece looks like, and the best ways to farm for high stat armor as a solo player. Also, make sure you watch until the end for a way to influence which stats are your highest. Coming up. If you're new to the channel, I'm Marshix, and I make Destiny 2 guides primarily for solo players. If you enjoy my content, all I ask is that you hit like on the video. First off, each piece of armor has 6 stats. Those are mobility, resilience, recovery, discipline, intellect, and strength. Each one of these will have a number next to them that will add to a total that will directly affect your ability cooldowns. So for instance, if you have 4 pieces of armor, each with 10 mobility, those would add together to get 40 total mobility. If you look at your overall mobility, you'll see that it says tier 4. You can have up to 100 in each stat, but these are broken up into increments of 10. 40 out of 100 is equivalent to 4 out of 10, so you end up with tier 4. Now if I increase that to 49, I'm still at tier 4, and have the same effects as if it was 40. Then when I take it above 50 is when it actually changes over to tier 5. It's worth mentioning that you can go beyond 100, but this will have no effects on your abilities, so there's no point to go above that. The reason I said 4 armor pieces in the previous example is because your 5th armor piece is a class item. These do not inherently roll with stats. You can, however, increase the stats of any armor piece, including your class item, by inserting a stat mod in your first mod slot, or when you masterwork a piece of armor, it will be given +2 in every stat. For more info on how to get the resources needed to masterwork your armor, click the link above or in the description. At the bottom of each piece of armor, there will be a total. This just adds the stats above to show you the total number. The highest total on legendary gear is 68, and the highest total on exotic gear is 70. I've heard rumors that 71s and 72s exist, but I have never personally seen any proof to back that up. Let me know in the comments if you've ever gotten any armor that's above a 70. Let's now go over what each stat does and which ones will be the best for you. Mobility increases movement speed and jump height. Resilience gives increased shields, allowing you to take slightly more damage from enemies. Recovery gives faster health regeneration. Discipline is for faster grenade regen. Intellect for faster super regen. And strength for faster melee regen. On top of that, each class has a stat that improves their class ability. These are mobility for the Hunter's Dodge, resilience for the Titan's Barricade, and recovery for the Warlock's Rift. In general, the 2 best stats to look for are going to be recovery for increased health regen, and intellect for the increased super regen. Bungie even admits that these are the best by making these mods cost more than any others. Recovery costs 4 and intellect costs 5, whereas all the others only cost 3. So when I look for good armor, I make sure it has a high recovery and high intellect first, then I use the 3 cost mods to round out whatever other stats I need for my character. Now, don't get me wrong, these stats might not be the best for you all the time. The best stats for you will be based off of the build that you've created. If you plan on throwing lots of grenades with something like Controverse Hold, go for Discipline. If you plan on dodging a lot with Bombardiers, go with Mobility. Or if you want to chain supers back to back, go with Intellect. For resilience, you definitely want to have some for PvP and higher end PvE activities like Grandmaster Nightfalls and raids, but I wouldn't recommend going past tier 6 because you do get diminishing returns as you get higher, and for the most part, you're going to die in the same number of shots at tier 6 as you would if you had tier 10. But like I said before, in general, recovery is going to be the best option for survivability, and intellect will allow you to get your super back faster, which is quite literally your strongest ability that you have. Hunters will benefit greatly from mobility, and tier 6 resilience is what you want to aim for in PvP and high level PvE content. Anything past that will be a bit of a waste. Now let's go over how you can get the high stat armor rolls as a solo player. The easiest and most obvious ways to get these will be powerful and pinnacle sources. Those being the activities on the directory marked with the gold circle on the side. The majority of these can be done solo or with matchmaking and have a high chance of dropping armor with a 60 total or higher. A lot of people tend to do these until they hit the power cap, then stop, but I would highly recommend continuing to run these every week to get lots of high stat armor. You can also get armor from Prime Engrams. When you decrypt these, make sure you're paying attention to the stats before you dismantle them. I've had many of my best armor pieces drop from Prime Engrams, so I always make sure to compare them to my other armor. Another easy way to get high stat armor is by focusing tier 3 Umbral Engrams. In the helm, you can focus your umbrals into armor from either Season of the Worthy, Season of the Splicer, or Season of the Lost. These guarantee one stat of your choice to be significantly higher than the others. You're limited to only a few of these per week, so be sure to grab these as often as possible so you can get some great gear. They can be a little expensive, but lucky for you, I've already made a guide for farming these currencies as fast and efficient as possible by using a glitch inside of the Expunge Missions. Link in the description. Speaking of Expunge Missions, these two have a chance of dropping high stat armor. In the Splicer servitor, if you have vulnerability exploit 1, 2, or 3, you can get 1, 2, or 3 opportunities to get high stat armor from the corrupted chests at the end of corrupted Expunge Missions. Do keep in mind, these aren't guaranteed to be only armor drops. If you instead get a weapon, make sure you inspect it, as it will have double perks and may be a god roll in disguise. The next way to get these will be a bit harder for some solo players, but it's definitely possible with enough determination. The 3 dungeons currently in the game each give high stat armor. These are the Shattered Throne on the Dreaming City, Pit of Heresy on the Moon, and Prophecy in the Tower. There will soon be another dungeon in Season of the Lost that we can assume will also give high stat armor. On top of that, Pit of Heresy also guarantees your armor has 2 spikes, meaning you're guaranteed to get a piece of armor with 2 stats that are 16 or higher. For instance, this helmet with 16 resilience and 26 intellect. Prophecy is also worth running since you can continuously farm it over and over on the same character and still get drops, unlike the other dungeons. If you're looking for any specific gear, here's an updated loot table for Season of the Lost. For those of you PvP players, you can get high stat armor from both Iron Banner and Trials of Osiris. Iron Banner gear comes from the end of matches, weekly Iron Banner bounties, and turning in tokens to Lord Saladin. Trials now has matchmaking, so it's possible to get Trials gear as a solo player. You get this armor by doing Trials Pinnacles, decrypting Trials Engrams at the Cryptarch, or by focusing Trials Engrams at Saint 14 for specific armor. Now, as promised, here's how you can influence the armor rolls you get from any source in the game. Season of the Lost introduced new ghost armor mods. These drop alongside legendaries and are fairly common. Equipping one of these will give you a minimum of 10 in whichever stat you choose, and will have a higher likelihood of getting even more than 10 in that same stat. This is especially great for Umbral Engrams, where you can, for example, have an intellect ghost mod and focus a recovery engram to force 2 spikes in your preferred stats. Now, before you click off this video, I want you to do me 2 favors. Click like on the video to show your support, and leave a comment letting us all know your highest total stat armor piece and where it came from. If you would like to support the channel, consider becoming a member or leave a highlighted comment through Super Thanks. Also subscribe for more Destiny 2 solo guides like this. Thanks for watching, I'm Marshix, and I'll see you next time.